For much of human history, the narrative has been that poverty is the result of circumstance. The stories told around kitchen tables blame external forces: the economy, the government, the employer, the bank. Those factors matter, but their influence pales compared with the cumulative weight of daily decisions. Most people remain poor not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they cling to behaviors that guarantee stagnation. They spend everything they earn and more. They commit to obligations that exceed their means. They envy the visible trappings of wealth and chase them through debt. They treat money as a source of pleasure rather than a tool, and that choice chains them to a repeating cycle. If you look honestly at the patterns of those who stay trapped, you will see impatience, impulsiveness, and a refusal to adopt simple, disciplined routines. The world offers countless ways to distract and delude, but very few ways to quietly build something durable. If you cannot resist the first group, you will rarely discover the second. One of the most pernicious traps is the belief that intelligence alone will lift you out. The culture celebrates cleverness and quick wins. It glorifies the person who spots the loophole and exploits it. In practice, however, brilliance without discipline is indistinguishable from folly. An undisciplined mind uses its intelligence to rationalize poor decisions. It constructs elaborate excuses for procrastination, justifies speculation as investment, and convinces itself that the rules don't apply. Intelligence becomes a servant to impulses and insecurities. Meanwhile, the dull but consistent worker, quietly saving and investing in what he understands, builds a fortress brick by brick. If you rely on intellect without habits to guide it, you will find your life littered with lost opportunities and unfinished projects. The truth is uncomfortable because it strips away the romanticism of sudden success. It suggests that the path to financial strength is not a test of wit, but a demonstration of character. Short-term thinking is another foundational cause of poverty. It manifests in the way people approach money, relationships, and work. They overvalue immediate gratification and undervalue the future. They buy on credit rather than wait and save. They invest in things they don't understand because someone else seems to be making money. They switch jobs at the slightest discomfort instead of compounding skills in one field. This restlessness creates an ever-changing environment where nothing has time to mature. In finance, compounding requires patience and time. In careers, expertise requires the same. When you seek novelty at every turn, you constantly restart the process. Each restart erodes the benefits of compounding. The irony is that this pursuit of variety stems from boredom and envy. People compare their progress to others and assume that if they aren't constantly moving, they are falling behind. They confuse activity with progress. If you can resist the urge to measure yourself against others and accept that meaningful improvement is slow and sometimes dull, you will begin to break free from this trap. The discipline to stay on a chosen path, while unglamorous, is a rare and powerful skill. Incentives shape behavior more than intentions do, and many people design incentives that sabotage themselves. They reward consumption with social approval while penalizing saving with feelings of deprivation. They establish lifestyle expectations based on temporary increases in income, making future reductions nearly impossible. They surround themselves with peers who encourage spending and mock frugality. These social and psychological incentives create an environment where good decisions feel wrong and poor decisions feel right. Understanding incentives allows you to design a system that aligns with your goals. For example, automating savings removes the temptation to spend what you intend to keep. Associating with people who value restraint normalizes conservative habits. Defining success by your own quiet milestones reduces the pull of comparison. By consciously adjusting the incentives that govern your daily choices, you can make discipline easier to maintain. Without this awareness, You will unconsciously follow the path of least resistance, which often leads to immediate gratification and long-term regret. Envy poisons the mind and corrodes financial judgment. It turns other people's success into a measure of your failure. Envy makes you angry that someone else has what you think you deserve. It does not motivate in a constructive way. It breeds resentment and rash action. People driven by envy ignore their own circumstances and chase outcomes suited to someone else's life. They overinvest in speculative opportunities because someone they know made quick gains. They increase spending to match the lifestyle of peers, not because it improves their life, but because it lowers the psychic pain of perceived inferiority. This dynamic is a trap, because there is always someone wealthier, smarter, luckier, or earlier. If you cannot root out envy, it will continually push you toward decisions that harm you. The antidote is to develop indifference to the fortunes of others. Measure your progress against your own benchmarks. Focus on whether your behavior today is better than your behavior a year ago. When you eliminate envy, you also remove the pressure to keep up appearances. You can then allocate resources toward things that genuinely matter, like education, health, and secure investments. Bad habits reinforce poverty because they create a self-sustaining loop. A single impulse purchase might seem harmless, but repeated daily, it becomes a constant drain. Smoking or excessive drinking not only costs money but also damages health, leading to medical expenses and lost productivity. Chronic lateness erodes trust, limiting career advancement. Consistent procrastination delays projects and reduces earnings. Each habit compounds negative outcomes. People often blame external forces for their situation while ignoring the small, controllable behaviors that accumulate to create it. The good news is that habits can be reshaped. Identify one small behavior that harms you and replace it with one that helps. Do this repeatedly, and the compounding will work in your favor. Small decisions matter because they are the ones you make every day. They are the difference between interest paid and interest earned, between opportunities missed and opportunities seized. Over time, a string of good habits forms a lattice that supports future successes. A string of bad habits forms chains that grow heavier with each passing year. Discipline is the framework that transforms opportunity into wealth. Discipline is not dramatic. It is a daily commitment to structure. It is the decision to live below your means, to invest regularly in things you understand, and to avoid debt unless it is productive and manageable. Discipline requires you to plan your spending so that your future self has more options. It asks you to study and understand before acting. It teaches you to say no more often than yes because most opportunities are not as good as they appear. People resist discipline because it constrains their impulses. They mistake freedom for the ability to do anything at any time. In reality, freedom comes from having the resources and options that discipline creates. When you adopt a disciplined structure, you gradually eliminate unnecessary choices. You automate savings, set up recurring investments, and allocate time for learning. This structure reduces decision fatigue and protects you from making costly mistakes when you are tired or emotional. It also allows you to focus your attention on things that truly matter, such as developing skills, nurturing relationships, and thinking long-term. Breaking the cycle of poverty also requires understanding incentives within organizations and institutions. At work, you must align your behavior with what the organization rewards, not what you think it should reward. Many people complain about being overlooked while continuing to do tasks that, although necessary, are not valued. They expect recognition for effort rather than results. If you want to advance, study how the system actually works. Identify the incentives that drive decisions. Deliver work that aligns with those incentives. Do not waste energy trying to change the rules in your favor. Instead, play within them intelligently. Similarly, in investing, incentives often drive salespeople to promote products that benefit them more than you. If you understand this, you will be skeptical of pitches and focus on simple, transparent investments. Ignoring incentive structures leaves you vulnerable to exploitation. Mastering them empowers you to navigate systems effectively. One of the most underrated tools in building wealth is boredom. Boredom drives people to seek excitement, leading to speculation, frequent trading, and unnecessary risk. Markets have always provided excitement for those who crave it, but excitement and returns rarely coincide. The disciplined investor is willing to endure long periods where nothing seems to happen. Patience allows time to do its work. It is in the waiting that compounding performs its magic. This quiet approach feels uncomfortable because it lacks drama, but drama is precisely what destroys portfolios and careers. When you recognize boredom as a friend rather than an enemy, you can harness its power. Boredom forces you to confront your own mind. It encourages you to read, to think, to plan rather than to act reflexively. It gives you space to refine your ideas and test them against reality. Restraint, therefore, is not a sacrifice, but an advantage. It distinguishes those who reach their goals from those who forever chase new thrills. The role of lifelong learning cannot be overstated. Wealth is not merely the accumulation of money. It is the accumulation of knowledge and judgment. Many people stop learning when they leave school. They rely on what they already know, even as the world changes around them. This stagnation guarantees that their skills and understanding become obsolete. Lifelong learning keeps your tools sharp. It expands your circle of competence, allowing you to evaluate more opportunities and avoid more pitfalls. Learning teaches humility because the more you know, the more you realize how much you do not know. Humility guards against overconfidence, which is a common cause of financial ruin. A consistent reading habit, exposure to different disciplines, and conversations with people who challenge your assumptions are all forms of learning. None of these are costly, yet their return on investment is immense. If you commit to lifelong learning, you will continually improve your decision-making, and better decisions are the foundation of wealth. A disciplined structure also demands that you understand and manage your emotions. Fear, greed, and impatience cause more financial damage than economic downturns. When markets decline, fear pushes people to sell at lows. When markets rise, greed compels them to buy at highs. Impatience drives them into get-rich-quick schemes. If you recognize these emotions and prepare for them, you can create systems that limit their influence. For instance, setting predetermined rules for buying and selling reduces the likelihood that you will act on impulse. Having a clear plan for market downturns, including how much of a decline you can endure, prevents panic. Accepting that markets and careers have cycles allows you to anticipate lean periods rather than react to them. Emotional control is not about suppressing feelings. It is about channeling them so they do not dictate your actions. Over time, consistent behavior breaks the cycle of poverty. Consistency is mundane. It is regular contributions to a retirement account. It is repeatedly choosing to cook rather than eat out. It is reading instead of watching television. Each of these choices is small and unremarkable when taken alone, but together they form a pattern. Patterns become habits, and habits become destiny. The long arc of compounding cannot be seen in a day or a year. It becomes clear over decades. Those who expect immediate results are perpetually disappointed and abandon their plans. Those who understand the timeline find satisfaction in the process itself. They know that time is their ally, and their job is simply not to interfere. Consistency is not rigid. It allows for adaptation. As you learn and circumstances change, you adjust your approach, but the core discipline remains. This adaptability within a consistent framework is the hallmark of lasting success. Patience and simplicity are often mocked in a world that rewards speed and complexity. Yet complexity invites error, and speed amplifies mistakes. A simple plan executed patiently outperforms a complex plan executed sporadically. Simplicity means focusing on a few essential behaviors. Spend less than you earn, invest in what you understand, avoid unnecessary debt, and continually improve your knowledge. Each of these behaviors is simple to understand, though not always easy to implement. The difficulty lies not in complexity but in discipline. Patience means giving these behaviors time to show results. It requires you to endure periods where progress is invisible. It requires you to ignore the noise of others' fortunes and focus on your own path. This combination of simplicity and patience is counterintuitive because it lacks flair. It will not impress at cocktail parties, but it will build a life of independence and security. As you internalize these principles, you may notice that they contradict much of what society encourages. Society celebrates consumption, revels in comparison, and rewards apparent brilliance. The path outlined here values frugality, indifference to peers, and steady effort. This divergence explains why these ideas are powerful. They are rare. Most people will not follow them because they are uncomfortable. They require you to be different and to embrace that difference quietly. If you find yourself tempted to deviate, revisit the underlying logic. The behaviors that maintain poverty are seductive because they offer immediate pleasure. The behaviors that build wealth are dull because they defer gratification. Understanding this trade-off allows you to choose deliberately rather than drift. Poverty is largely a product of behavior, not external forces. It persists because people repeat actions that guarantee poor outcomes and refuse to adopt habits that would free them. Wealth, conversely, is the result of a procedure: spending less than you earn, investing in understandable assets, learning continuously, and controlling your emotions. It is the slow accumulation of good decisions compounded over time. Intelligence and luck may influence the speed of progress, but they are secondary to discipline. If you accept that your daily choices are the primary drivers of your financial destiny, you will see that you have more control than you thought. The choice then becomes clear. Continue with the comfortable behaviors that maintain poverty, or commit to the disciplined procedures that build wealth. The former offers fleeting satisfaction, the latter offers lasting independence.